So they've said that this Acer Chromebook, specifically CB314-1H, has a broken USB-C charging port. Looks like it has a broken piece on the end of it. We'll inspect that in a second. Hi Joey, I'm a long-time viewer and subscriber and have watched your journey with repairing electrical items. My dad told me that his Chromebook would not turn on anymore. I popped over to see him and could instantly see that the USB-C charging port had been broken. I opened up the Chromebook to see if the USB-C was connected via a daughter board. Unfortunately, it's soldered onto the main board, which is way beyond my basic soldering skills. My dad uses his Chromebook every day and is currently using his mobile phone to check his emails, etc. And he's struggling. His age and eyesight are not what they used to be. So we're really hoping that we can get this USB-C port fixed. I've purchased a replacement USB-C port from eBay from the model number of the actual Chromebook, and we'll include that if you're happy to attempt the repair. Of course, I said yes. However, there is one thing here that I need to advise. I said, big up Andy, by the way, for sending this. Just to let you know, just a few words before we continue. I'm not massively experienced with laptops and want to confirm that anything can happen with repairs. Worst case scenario, the laptop being broken beyond any repair, making it even worse. If you're happy to continue with that in mind, I'll take it on and at least give it a try. This is something as well that I feel like is really important if you go into repairs as a business. You know, you need to make sure that you're very upfront and honest with people. Do you know why? Because Andy's turned around and said, yeah, just go ahead with it anyway. Because if you build that relationship and trust with people and you're upfront and honest with them, some people are going to look away and go, do you know what, I'm not going to do it then. But a lot of other people will most probably still choose you. I'm really interested in taking a look at this laptop. I have no idea. I don't fix laptops. It's not something that I take on. But again, I've just confirmed with the person that they're happy for me to take a look at it. Lauder Glove, they've got the password literally right here. Okay, well, I'm not going to open that again. I'll try and keep it as close as I possibly can. I wasn't expecting that. Luckily, we don't have any further details of the person, which is good. It's not turning on, so clearly it's completely out of battery. And if I turn it over, we can't actually see that it's been opened before. It looks like they have maybe attempted to take this sticker off in the event that there's a screw under here, which I don't think that's a screw hole there. I mean, it kind of has like indentations of a screw hole, but it's very, very small. So yeah, I don't think that's the case. We've got several screws on the outside of the laptop. So this should be relatively easy, right? I'm thinking it should be relatively easy. So it should just be a case of taking this apart. Let me show you the port itself first, because I have had a brief, swift look at that. Whoa. So we can clearly see that this port needs replacing. Am I right? You can also see that there's a pin over here. It's just gone haywire. I don't know where that's gone. And I think what's happened is it's stripped the plastic back. So whatever has been pushed inside of here has pushed the plastic back on the port even further, from what I can tell. But again, I don't know what to expect. I don't solder on laptop motherboards, so I don't know how difficult and hard this could be. I'm used to soldering Nintendo Switch ports. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think a Nintendo Switch USB-C charging port is probably as difficult as what a USB-C charging port should get, except for the fact there's no like plastics around it, so I don't have to take that into consideration. Let's see if this motherboard has the same fate. Okay, so let's see. Is it just a simple case of, I've got my ISSMO here, so I don't really, again, because it's cheap, I don't want to mark the plastic, so I'm going to have to be careful when digging here to try and get this to unclip. There we go, I've got one. Can I simply, because the plastic is going to be pretty brittle as far as I'm concerned, I do just have to be careful. See if I can unclip. Yeah. Okay, so that unclips as well. Does that unclip? No. Let me rotate this round. I'm sure that people with a lot more experience and confidence will just be like, crack, 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 crack. But I'm just going to take my time. Let me, just in case, use a plastic spudger. There we go. That's better. And now I can just run this across, I think. Don't want to, I'm not inserting the spudger like too far because I don't want to risk slicing any cables or anything like that. But we've got a good amount of it up now. There we go. And that just makes life 10 times easier, doesn't it? There we go. Another one, another one, another one. Whew. Okay, cool. So that's been taken off. We are inside our first layer. Where is this USB-C charging port? I think it's over here. What looks to be under the hinge. So we have a separate board over here. What on earth is that for? Is that a speaker? That might be like a speaker board, I imagine. We've got the big old, the battery's actually quite big and respectable in this, but it might be quite thin. We've got a speaker over here, actually a speaker here. So that's not a speaker board. I don't know what that is. Then we've got the heatsink, which covers over the CPU. And then the USB-C port we're talking about is right over here in the corner. So it's soldered onto the motherboard. So I now just need to take this apart. First things first, I'm pretty sure people tell me, disconnect the battery, Joey. Like anything electric, I guess. Disconnect the battery is this is the first thing that you need to do. We have one screw here for the battery, one screw here, one screw here. So do I just pull this? I think this is just a pull tab. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get a slide on this. Oh, wait a minute. It's the silver thing, right? So the silver latch, I think I just push out. There we go. And then does this just come off? It does. Look at that. Jubbly. And then there's this like bit of tape that I'm just going to peel up on. There it is. Right. And now I can take the screws out for the battery. And that is not the same size as the case screw. So I'm going to put that separate. What about this one? Neither's that one. Okay, but it's good that those two are the same style screw. Oh, there's another one. Is this going to be the same size? Yes, it is. Sweet. There she goes. And now I should be able to technically release the battery. Unless there's a bit of like tape holding it down or something, is it? Oh, there is a bit of tape. Oh, they went like the Apple approach. It's like a pulley thing. I'm really surprised. There's another one this side. What? I was not expecting that in a Chromebook. Pulley tab, look. Pull. There we go. And then just... Well, that's really cool, actually. That's really cool. I wasn't expecting that. But we've removed that. And now we've got a couple of like little bits of tape to remove. First try. We've done it. Lord glove. Right, so I'm going to put this on the floor and then we can focus on the actual motherboard. Let's head over and inspect this USB-C port and see how challenging that's going to be to replace. We've got some sort of sheet, plastic sheet on the back of this motherboard, which I'm probably going to have to remove because I don't want it melting. And then I just kind of put it back on. Guessing this is to just stop any conductivity between this and the chassis. So let me take this bit of plastic off, which is probably going to lose most of its stickiness and glue from me taking it off, but I don't necessarily have a choice here. So we'll put that back on. Thing is, I don't want that to melt. So let me just put that over there. It's still very sticky, to be fair. And here is our port. Wow, would you look at that? This should be, technically, I'm going to say it, relatively easy. As long as I haven't lost the USB-C port I'm replacing it with. It'll be here somewhere. It'll be here somewhere. We've got this little bit of metal on top or whatever it is, sticker. That's absolutely fine. That will probably get blasted when we apply heat. Now, what I'm assessing here is I'm looking to see whether I go from the top or whether I go from the bottom is probably the first thing. We've got a little diode here. We've got a cap. We've got what looks to be maybe some sort of inductor. I'm looking at this. I'm thinking the top would be a nice place to go. The board is relatively thin, aka very thin. So I also have to be careful about potentially bending the board with too much heat. So I'm probably going to go low heat around this area. If I turn it round, how are we looking on the back? So it is indeed through hole. I'm assuming if I look at the port that I've got, is it going to be through hole some? And then somebody on chat has just said as well. Yeah, okay. So it's through hole and it's pins. So it's one of each, which is fine. I just need to make sure that is definitely going to be the right connector, make sure it lines up correctly, etc. Which I don't think it is. I don't think it's the right connector. I think it's quite far off. If I line this up here, yeah, it's not the right connector. I'll have to see. But you can see that the clasp is different to what this one is here as well. I might have one. I'll have to check. I've got a pack of USB-C ports, so we might be in luck. But I think it's most probably because we've got the LED here as well. That is going to be quite sensitive to heat. I think it makes sense to actually go from this side. Now, what I'm going to do is use heat to take it out and then use heat to put it back in. And I'll probably add some leaded into the mix to make life a little bit easier and to really lower that melting temperature when we go to use heat, because again, it's such a thin board. So yeah, I think that's the plan of action. Let me take this port off then, and then I can see whether this port is similar to this one and whether we can use it. And I might have to make some little adjustments, which I don't think we're going to, because those legs look like they're not going to fit in the ground holes. Like I said, I'm going to go over the top here, and I need to get this board nice and warm because of the fact I've got pins underneath there as well, haven't I? So I'll probably go with a larger tip here, and I'll probably start with, I'm going to start with 380 actually. Let me see what I can do, see if I can do any damage with 380. I don't think I'll be able to, but I'm going to see. Airflow speed, I'm going to whack up to 70%. Here we go. We do have a connector on the board, but it's actually quite far away from this one. probably about ½ an inch or so, 3/4 of an inch, but I'm just being cautious because I'm also trying to get the board up to a relatively good temperature as well, so that it's all not focused purely on this area we see. Here we go, just kind of focusing a little bit more now on the port, and the solder's starting to wet. It's good. Try and give it a tap. Can't do any more damage to this port, and it's come on off anyway. Now it's ready. Can you see? Ready? So I grab it, slowly pull off, not ripping any pads, just like that. Wicked. Now what I'm going to do is apply leaded solder to this board whilst it's nice and hot on those pads. Bit of flux, just to bring down that melting temperature a little bit more, so I risk not bending the board. So I'm not going to add too much, just a little bit. This port won't need a lot. Nice. That's exactly what I wanted. And now I'm going to clean the flux. The drop method is what I use personally. I really like using the drop method. You don't have to. You can use any method you prefer. You have to be careful of that little diode up there. But for me personally, the drop method has always worked, especially for situations like this. I actually think you would need to use the drop method because you've got the pins underneath. You can't solder them. So I'm talking about this row of pins here. You can't solder those with a soldering iron. So you'll have to go with the drop method. Now, I also actually think that people wouldn't have this laptop repaired because of how cheap it is. So I think there's that as well. Make it look so easy. Yeah, I think, again, just soldering comes down to like practice. And once you've soldered, you can solder on anything, you know? Here is our bad port that we've just taken off. And yeah, we can see that other than the inside of the port, it looks really nice. Even the clasp, etc. This one, if I go to try and put this on, it's not going to fit, I don't think. Yeah, it's not, because oh, wait there. That's gonna, yeah. Well, we can see because the ground legs at the back to sit flush with the pins, as you can see, it's not going to fit. It would need to sit around here, and these ground leads at the back here do not line up with the ground holes we have here. So this port is unfortunately not one to use. So what I need to do now is look in my little box of parts and see if I've got a USB port which is similar to this one. I think they're pretty common. I could be wrong. I've not looked at this box of parts in about 10 years. It's probably more like a year. Do I have any that have? I don't think I do. All of the ports are, I mean, I've even got ones that stand vertically, which I didn't actually think that I had. But these ones stand vertically and even come with a little plastic plug. But yeah, I don't have any that have the vertical pins. The through hole pins. I don't have any. So I'm going to have to try and order the right one now then through eBay. This is the type of port that it needs to be. So can you see it has like the step to it? Whereas the one that I was sent does not have that. See that? So I won't be able to just jig this port up. This is the one that came from the board. And you can see it kind of sits on the motherboard and goes through to then be level and even with the motherboard itself. You see that? So what I've chosen to do is I found the port on eBay, but they go for around about £4.50, £5 each. If I order the same port from AliExpress, I can get a bulk load of 5 of them for, I think it was around about £4 or £5 plus £3.80 shipping. So it equals around about £7, £8 for 5 of them, rather than me spending £10 for 2 in case I mess one up from eBay. So now I'm going to have to wait until that port comes in to continue this repair. I had to wait for a replacement port. Moment of truth, I did wait a little bit for these to arrive, didn't I? So I'm hoping they're going to be okay. On the right hand side, we have the one that I believe was taken. Can't even really tell. Yeah, I believe this is the one that was taken from the board, and this is the one that the customer had provided. If I grab one of these ports that I purchased from Ali, I've got 5 of them just in case. How similar is it going to be? Yo, I think we're on to a winner. All the grooves in all the right places, I believe. Looking at that, first off, they're the same size. That's a really good thing to know. Something else I would also say, the legs of the port are the same distance each side, which is also really, really good. I think we're okay. I think we have the correct port. Just looking at some of the plastics that we have. So if I grab the board, I'm going to just see if this port actually sits flat in first before I do anything. But this looks extremely similar, like verbatim. A big part of this, obviously, if I just put it that way, yeah, they've got the same depth as well on that back. Perfect. Okay, this should be the correct port. And then what I've also done is banked 4 of them for potential other projects that I get that require those type of USB-C charging ports. So I'm going to go 350 degrees Celsius, and I'm actually going to go 70% airflow. And I've got a rather big nozzle. Let's put some flux on here. So I'm just going to put some flux just like this, not too much, just to cover what I need. And this is going to really help us put that port in place. And I kind of want a thin layer. I don't want it to be this like thick blobby bits all over the board, you know? So I'll kind of take these off. We like flux, but too much and it can ruin things. So I've prepped the port in my tweezers just here, and I'm doing this kind of freehand as well. I haven't, which is maybe a mistake. We'll see. So again, I'm just kind of getting the board up to a good temp. I'm rotating that heat. Because this board is so thin, I don't want to flex the board. So I'm not going to put hardly any pressure when I drop this port on. It's going to be very loose. So I'm just waiting to see all of that turn molten. And I'm just heating the rest of the board as well over to the side. Being very, very careful to make sure that I don't melt any plastic bits. But it's good to try and just get the whole board up to a decent temperature. But like I said, this is 350. So this isn't usually as hot as what I would operate. And you can see it's molten already, right? Except for the ones on the left, because they're on a bigger ground plane, right? Or they're on the same ground plane, but just a bigger area. So I'm going to come in now and drop that port and keep rotating the air. I'm going to see if I can just knock this port into place. I think it's a bit too far over at the moment. It just needs to settle down, but it doesn't look like it's going to settle down. So I'm just rotating that air. Oh, it's settled down on my feet, that's for sure. Let me grab it again. Yeah, I can get it through that back left one. So let's try again. It's very important. You just need to chill. So we come back in. You're not going to get it perfect all the time. So take our time. Just getting molten again. Make sure everything heats up nice. Drop it on. And it might pop out again. Hopefully not. See if we can get it just settled down. There it is. I'm just going to keep that hot air on there for another 10 seconds, just moving it around. So if we now take a look at this, I have to kind of move a little bit quick here. I need to make sure this is definitely flat to the board. And let's have a look at the back, because it's probably pushed a bit of solder through. Oh, no, that's pretty good, to be honest. Let me put on my soldering iron. I'm just going to have to make a couple of minor adjustments here, that's all, because that looks really good. So you can see that all those pins, if I show you in a sec, you can see that there's pins that have come through here, and they've pushed that little bit of solder through. So I'm just going to really quickly run over these. The important thing about this port is getting the USB-C pins on the back. So if I flip this back over, and I show you this angle, for example, I need to make sure that all of those are connected. And by the looks of it, they look connected. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my tweezers down there to test, because it's a really small gap. Yeah, I can't get my tweezers down there, unfortunately, and these are really thin tweezers as well. So our test is going to be to just try it and see if it works. But they all kind of look soldered to me. You can see that it's nice and flat to the board as well. Look, can you see that? Really nice and flat to the board. As flat as what it possibly can be. And like I said, I'm just going to quickly run over some of the back and just make sure we got some nice connections on these pins. Now it's still going to be quite warm. So I need my really thin iron for this. This is my Metcal. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of flux and just tidy this up a little bit. I'm not going to be too much flux, because heat usually does most of the work. So you don't necessarily need too much flux. A little bit there next to that LED. See if I can get away with making that look a little bit neater without burning the foam. What do we think? There we go. And what you need to be careful here is you don't want to solder these for too long. And the reason might shock you, and it's because you can actually cause the port to fall out, and you don't want that. So I'm just tidying these up. That's going to need a tiny little bit more flux. Does this need this? Absolutely not, by the way. This is just me being stubborn and liking things nice and clean and tidy. What does flux do? I'm not too sure on the exact science behind it. I mean, the easy answer is it helps the solder flow. That's the easy answer. But the more like scientific is it like corrodes or eats away at the dust or whatever it is and cleans it so it solders nice, I think. Again, could be entirely, completely, utterly, butterly incorrect. I'm just going to come in again with a little bit more flux just here and make sure these pins are soldered nicely. I think this is just ground. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of heat. This is nice clean. And I'll come in with some IPA as well. Now I don't want that to fall out, because that will molten very quick because of how much lead we've now got in the area. So I need to be super careful. I'm just simply trying to get some of that off. There we go. How's that? Yeah, looking good. Everything looks pretty nice and clean. on this side as well. The solder's gone through the other side. I don't necessarily think I need to anchor this down because it's anchored quite well from the other side. So I don't think we need to do that. You can see the solder's just about coming up the legs. Careful of that diode there, because if that comes off, it's GG. Yeah, guys, something's coming in the next couple of weeks. I was meant to do some work on it this week, but again, with Mini JDT not being very well, I'm just so behind on everything at the moment. So I've just got a bunch of things to do. But the core stuff, I'm looking to get sorted in hopefully under around 2 weeks or so. That's what I'm hoping. How accurate is that going to be? I'm not too sure. And it's going to be it'll be like a slow release. So I'll probably start with like 2 videos or so on specific repairs. For example, if you're looking to change a PS5 HDMI port, and the logic behind this was if you're looking to change a PS5 HDMI port, I've done hundreds of them, like several hundred, and I kind of perfected it in my own way of how to do them. And as you guys see from the videos that I do, I kind of blitz through it and make it look easier than what it is, but it's really, really not. It's quite a tough thing to do. So I thought doing a course from start to finish, taking apart a PS5, changing out the port, all the tips and tricks, stuff that I've not really ever mentioned on videos as well, would be a good place to start. And if I was to charge, say, $70 for that, the logic behind it was you could easily charge $70 for a HDMI port swap on a PS5. The logic there is that you pay that amount for one, and then you can do 10 of those in a day if you wanted to do like repair as a service, or whether it's you wanted to repair your own device or whatever it is. That's still going to be cheaper than buying a brand new console or something like that. Here we go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. We get 15. It goes up. 170. Do we see something on the laptop like the screen? Does it boot? 180. Solid 180. This is good though. We get 15 volts, 180 milliamps. Any light? The charging light is on. That's a win. Let me just turn it around. Make sure I get both sides. We get 2.8 amps. That is that looks like it's charging the battery to me. So what's that? 3 times 15, 45 watts, just under. So what are we talking, like 40 watts or so? That's good. I'm just looking around to make sure that I've got everything else plugged in. Let's try it again. Maybe the battery's just flat. Oh, no, there we go. Chrome OS. Yo. Wow. Amazing. And the fact that it charges both ways is awesome as well. Yeah, it's on. Big ups to John. Yeah. We got life. It's on. At 2.8 amps, the battery's charging. If it's like, say, 500 milliamps, that would mean that it's kind of just sustaining life. I just want to see it. I want to see it go to 843, because if it goes to 843 again, it just means that we're filling up that battery. But I feel like it maybe keeps this amperage for a while, especially if it's flat, because this is like max. There we go, 4.3. So that's exactly what I kind of wanted to see. So ever so slowly, it's just about going down because that battery's getting fuller and fuller. So yeah, 2843, there we go. And just like that, we managed to fix the laptop in question. Actually, big shout out to Andy, who sent this in on behalf of his father as part of the free repair service. That's another one down, and out of 31 total free repairs that we've done so far on this channel, we have failed 4 of them. So pretty good odds, and I think that's because majority of them people haven't gone inside. As always, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and as always, I shall see you in the next one. Peace. I also had a shave.